The Parliament of Australia enacts, this is assented to 13th of April 2010. The Parliament of Australia enacts Torture, Prohibition and Death Penalty Abolition Act 2010. This Act commences on the day after this Act receives the Royal Assent. Schedule 1. Amendments and repeal relating to offence of torture. Part 1, Main Amendment, Criminal Code Act 1995. At the end of the Chapter 8 of the Criminal Code, add Division 274, Torture. 274.1, Definitions. In this division, Convention means the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman or Degrading Treatments of Punishment adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations at New York on 10th of December, my mother's birthday. 1984. 1984. Orwell. The text of the Convention is set out in Australian Treaty Series 1989, number 21, 1989, ATS 21. Torture. A person, the perpetrator, commits an offence if the perpetrator A, engages in conduct that inflicts severe physical or mental pain or suffering on a person, the victim, and the conduct is engaged in 1. For the purpose of obtaining from the victim or a third person information or confession, or for the purpose of punishing the victim for an act which the victim or third person has committed or is suspected of having committed, or for the purpose of intimidating or coercing the victim or a third person, or for a purpose related to a purpose mentioned in subparagraph 1, 2 and 3, and C, the perpetrator engages in the conduct in the capacity of public official or acting in an official capacity or acting at the instigation or with the consent or acquiescence of a public official or other person acting in an official capacity. Penalty, imprisonment for 20 years. A person, the perpetrator, commits an offence if the perpetrator A, engages in conduct that inflicts severe physical or mental pain or suffering on a person, and B, the conduct is engaged in for any reason based on discrimination of any kind, and C, the perpetrator engages in the conduct in the capacity of public official or acting in an official capacity or acting at the instigation or with the consent or acquiescence of a public official or other person acting in an official capacity. Mummy? So, from what I can see, Mummy, in the situation with my mother in the nursing home, under a control order,
so Mum's been sleeping
designed
all morning?
for dangerous demented people, of which she is not one, and she's not even demented because she has her wits about her and knows what's happening. Dementia is when you don't know what people are doing to you. My mother does. My mother also knows what she wants, and she's having her wants, needs, will deprived from her. My mother wants to go to church. My mother wants to go home. My mother wants to go walking. My mother wants to go back to Sydney. My mother wants to see her husband. My mother wants freedom of movement. My mother wants to choose what food she eats. My mother wants to choose who showers her. My mother wants to choose where she eats and who she eats with. Under the control order, my mother has lost all those rights. And because she lost all those rights, she was forced to eat in a dining room and share that dining room with other germy residents who gave her the flu. She's never had a flu under my care, ever.
Came here at 3:15 and Mum was at the front.
What is it now?
Waiting for me. And this is what I mean, she needs high supervision. If I'm not here, she frets. Because...
What is it?
And she was just like, can we go? And she wanted to get up the front and I wanted to take her. And I said to the nurse, can I walk her around the quadrangle? And she said, no. And I said, but my mother's suffering. She's not getting her walking. And she said, I'm so sorry, but I can't go past the rules. And it was just terrible. It was like, Australian government can't save my mother.
Lie down.
It has a lot to answer for.
I want to go toilet.
Okay, come on.
This is the walking area my mother's confined to. Let's just have a look at how much higher the concrete is than the grass. And the grass is uneven, right? The grass is uneven anyway, and that's not even. In some bits, it's even. So nobody can walk over that without tripping. You know, even an able-bodied person would probably trip. And this is like the walking area that my mother's confined to. Okay, it's like got a cross of this concrete, and then the rest of it's grass. So it's unwalkable by yourself, unless you want to trip over and break your hip. So she can only sort of like walk around with me, which that's not independence. She can't even walk with the walker. It's too uneven. So this is where we've been confined for the last 6 weeks, with no walking for my mother. And it's added to her depression and it's, you know, it's what made her susceptible to the flu. And now they've got her on a lockdown till Tuesday. Well, why don't we just get her out of here? Then she'll be, everyone will be safe.
Yes.
You feel sick?
Come to me. Where's your bag?
We just got told off for having a banana smoothie,
Yeah.
so we can't even do that without getting a punch in the face.
Yeah.